You know, everybody wants to drive a Mercedes-Benz. At least all these people that like chainsaws, they want their Mercedes-Benz or something made in Sweden that's no longer made in Sweden. At least I don't think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. Look, I don't know everything, and if I'm wrong about anything, you know, feel free to correct me in comments. But I got a comment today, and I love comments, so please comment. You know, don't be afraid to comment. I'm going to be respectful. If I don't like your comment, I'll just delete it. But the only ones I'm deleting are cheap, junky Chinese chainsaw comments when things are not really cheap, junky that I'm dealing with. Now, some of them are. But somebody left a comment that says, support USA-built saws. Will someone out there please tell me where I can buy a USA-built saw of USA-made parts? I would love to. Man, that would be so awesome, especially since everything I used to buy ever was always US made. So there's a little place down here at the beach. I drew my dot too far inland, you know. There's a little place some down here in the VA beach. Big factory. Okay, but then there's also these containers that come in somewhere. I don't know where they get unloaded, but these containers come in from somewhere, and I'm sure they're going right there. And I don't know if I need to make a Freedom of Information Act request to U.S. Customs for finding out what kind of container loads are destined for there or not. I don't think it's that important. It's just interest, you know, just interest, historical information. Because everybody thinks that we need to support USA, and I would love to, but we were stupid and we let everything leave the USA. My favorite Jackson, Tennessee Porter cables that I talk about, somewhere in Jackson, Tennessee, maybe down here, I don't know, Jackson, Tennessee. I used to love Porter Cable. Of course, Milwaukee was up here. Milwaukee went to Wisconsin on their tools, you know. Anyway, long story short, there was a cylinders made in Brazil for a lot of years on these pro model saws. Brazil. You could spell it with an S or a Z. I mean, I like them both, but I guess mostly I've done the Z, but the S is pretty cool. So it's pronounced Molly, I guess, because that's what the still guy told me when I talked to him, Molly, but it's spelled Molly. They're not coming from there anymore. They're not even coming from Brazil anymore. Geez, I don't know where they're coming from. Does anybody else know where they're coming from? So for lack of a better diagram for the CCP, and we're not going to talk politics, we're just going to have to leave politics out of this. Because if I get talking politics, I'm not in a position to do that. I can't. It's kind of like, ooh, you know. Anyway, long story short. Up here is Shanghai. It's on the ocean, the coast. Down here is probably, let's say, Guangzhou, and I'm not talking accurate directions. Of course, that's why I drew a stop sign for China, CCP. So I had a swastika that I buried under the Daimler Chrysler Mercedes emblem, because if I drew a swastika, then that would kind of bring up politics again. And I'm not supporting the swastika at all, but the Germans seem to lose their mind over that stuff. Kind of like what we had going on here from that guy that was up here that now lives down here, that's about to go to trial up here and here in D.C. and and down in Georgia too. The guy over here that got everybody riled up. The Germans made incredible freaking products. I have a 1987 Mercedes-Benz wagon, diesel. That thing is amazingly built. So, right along 1994, they had a strategy from the Daimler Chrysler Corporation, and it was always kind of associated with Daimler from 26, but then there was like maybe a merger or a restructuring, and they called it Welt Auto Future Strategy. So they were going to take Mercedes-Benz to something larger than GM, but by doing that, they were going to reduce their engineering. So their cars went to absolute shit. I'm serious. Mercedes suck, in my opinion. They might not suck as bad as Audis, because Audis aren't worth repairing anymore. Long story. I'll do a story on that later. But you had a company here in Sweden, non-sufficient funds. That's what I learned in the 80s in geography class. But Sweden made a saw, right? Everybody knows what saw that is. And everybody got their cylinders down here in Brazil. They don't get their cylinders in Brazil anymore. Where are they getting their parts? So the big company from Germany has their own company with their own name on it in Qingdao. And there's 3 factories that they have non-disclosure agreements with for parts. Now, some of my saws have parts made in these factories. Some of the internet saws probably have parts made in these factories. Okay, what internet saws are we going to talk about? Farmertech, Farm, and Neo, right? Now, let me tell you about Farmertech and Neotech. The only reason you know about them, I didn't do a very good farm on there, did I? The only reason you know about them is because of something called marketing. Marketing. So these companies, it's so funny. I had a guy, and I know it's on the channel. I had a guy who's like, oh, everything's coming from Farmertech. Okay, well, what about Neotech? Well, you know, these 2 companies are marketing to individuals in the United States. Okay, China has got factories all over freaking China, including factories making chainsaws. I've named them. Okay, I've named them. There's different kinds of factories. Like I've said before, factories that make parts, factories that make saws, factories that make everything, factories that just assemble. Farmertech, I'm not saying anything bad about them, despite them wanting you to believe they are an actual factory. They're not. What have they done pretty amazing? 880s. The guy that runs Farmertech has got a tight grip on 880s. I was offered, if I give him $100,000, I could have my own 880s. They said, hey, Steve, we want you to go into partnership with us. If you give us $100,000, we'll build you 880s in our factory. I said, well, I don't think so. I can't sell 880s very well. Even if I had them built in your factory, even if I only paid a little bit for them, they'd give me $100,000 worth of 880s to make up for it, I guess, or I'd buy 100,000 and then they give me back whatever. I don't know, but I'm not doing that. I still got some 880s. So this is marketing. Farmertech and Neotech is only marketing. There are so many other good factories, and I found some good factories. My 660s, holy Moses, it doesn't make sense to buy another saw. I want to talk about China. Family, class, as in low class, middle class, high class, wealthy. I want to talk about their economy. I want to talk about their factories a little bit. People living in dorms, how they get everything done. It's kind of interesting. First, before this drags on too far, I want to do some mathematics on this. Now, I have never run a tree crew, but I work with Alfredo a little bit. If you had a 4-man crew, I'm thinking you need probably 2 top handle saws. You probably need 2 or 3 in the 50-60 class range. I forgot about 72 cc's, maybe a 50 or 52, maybe a couple 72s, whatever. These saws you could use most of the day without killing yourself if you're using them all day long, sawing or topping trees. For efficiency, you need some 90 cc's, whether it's 660s, something new in the, I'm not talking new saws. I don't know enough about new saws. I got accused of being afraid of them. I'm afraid to spend my money on new saws because I don't need to. I don't need them. It's not a hobby aspect I want to get into. I already got my hands full for the rest of my life on the stuff I'm dealing with now. 90s cc, you probably need 2 for efficiency. You might need 100-something cc for 42-inch bars, probably 42-inch bars. Now tell me if I'm wrong. Comment. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong. This is just me analyzing. If you got 7 crews, you probably need 2 or 3 top handles, 4 or 5 60s, some 72s, whatever. 3 probably 90s, 1 or 2. This is probably what you need. So I'm figuring this is going to cost you $9,500 to get started or for replacing everything. If it gets stolen or, if it just wears out or if it's just, because it's nice to have new equipment that you don't have to maintain much. So it might cost 13 grand for 7 crews. I figured it out. I could hook you up, and I don't care if you send me money or not. I'm just talking about the business aspect of it to save you money. I could easily hook you up for 6 grand. You can order internet saws for a little cheaper than that, but you don't have any parts. I can hook you up for 6 grand, and I can start you out with enough parts, and those parts will carry you through the whole year if you got one guy that can maintain it for you. You pay a guy to stay home one day and maintain saws. Hey, I want all these saws running tomorrow, whatever. Or you give them a little extra money on the weekend or whatever. But you should pick one guy to maintain your saws. And don't rely on the dealer. You don't need a dealer. What do you need a dealer for if you don't have to plug it into a computer? You know, just get one guy that's mechanically inclined enough to work on your saws, on your crew. And if you've got parts, look at that. I can hook you up. Just look how much money you could save. Why would you not do that? Because right now, the stuff right here, it's coming from right here. They got their own place here, and then they got 3 factories they contract with. It's non-disclosure. I'm trying to get the addresses, but it's really weird when I'm asking these people for these addresses. They kind of like don't understand. So I don't know that I can prove this or not, but you just got to trust me for now. It makes no sense. It's asinine to spend this money when you don't have to. Even if you go ahead and go for the internet. My service, I got enough parts to keep us going. I can get all the parts we need. But even if you go for the internet, you're still, and you need that guy on your crew to maintain your saws. But after that, it doesn't matter. You can save so much money. Your saws aren't going to break down. They're perfectly well made now. Now, these 2 companies that are marketing to individuals, they don't ship container loads of professional grade saws, although they've come so far. I am super impressed. I need to test it. I'm super impressed with 395XP from Pharmatech Holtz Pharma. By the way, it's 3 names. Hutzel. Hutzel is the name that the Chinese know. Pharmatech is the marketing name, Pharmatech. And Holtz Pharma. Holtz Pharma is the brand. It's all the same company. And the guy drives a Bentley. Nice guy. I haven't met him. He drives a Bentley car. A Bentley. He drives a Bentley. He might drive some other stuff, but he at least drives a Bentley. The guy that runs it. He's a nice guy. There's people that have been on the internet that have talked about meeting him. I haven't seen that video anymore lately. It might be taken down. But he drives a Bentley. I've talked to people when they've been looking at his car. I know a lot of these people over here in China. Been talking to him for a bunch of years. Made friends with him. I got places I could probably stay in China if I go there. It's open now. So let's talk about family, class, economy, factory dorms. They are very family oriented. It's really cool. The weird thing is there's a culture. The mother has to buy the son a house. So it's like mothers work their ass off to have enough money to buy their son for a house, because a woman won't marry a man that doesn't have a house or something like that. And they're not having so many kids. Of course, there was the restrictions on it. Now they want them to have kids, but it's so much ingrained that a lot of them don't. So some of the wealthier people are having a few kids, but there's very few lower class people in China, I would say, from what I could tell. I mean, there's probably some poorer people out further in the rural areas, but as far as in the cities, they seem to be a middle class mostly, and there's a lot of wealthy people in China. I would say there's more wealthy people in China than here, maybe. I haven't been there yet, but it's seeming that way. The economy, they seem to be able to pretty much, they afford to live. They got it, everything's, reasonably priced. Some people live very nicely, and maybe some people live poorly. Let's see. I know I'm not making much sense on that. It's hard to explain. I've lost my thoughts. I mean, I've seen some people's apartments and pictures, and they're happy. They're happier than we are in the United States. I guarantee it. The factory. So there's big factories and little factories. There's some like individually owned factories that are like husband and wife type things. And then they have, everybody seems to have dorms, and they seem to have workers come in from other places to stay in the dorms of the factories. And there's food available. And then some people come into town and they're like out sleeping under bridges, working in factories just to save money. I don't know if they take a portion out for the dorms, or maybe they're working places there's no dorms. But there's places, people that literally sleep outside or sleep under a bridge somewhere, but they stay clean. And it's just to save money for home. It's pretty interesting. They're hardworking people. I'm not talking about the messed up situation with the politics. I mean, that's a whole other thing. And I have had very many interesting conversations with people. But this is the town where the big Daimler Chrysler company is. I'm just using that as a euphemism. They got 3 factories of parts. This is another individual. The 880, the 880s, and the 395 XPs are very exclusive to Pharmatech. He did a great job getting his 880s. Now he's got a great job getting his 395s. I'm loving these. I'm going to test the heck out of these. Oh, correction. I'm going to test the hell out of these milling some lumber this summertime. It's going to be hot, man. I can't think of anything else. I'm sitting here at this table. I'm going to write down all of my comments up until now because we've hit 1,000 subscribers. So we're going to win the 5,800. And I'm going to post who the winners are because it's going to be one winner, you got 10 days to respond. Next winner, you got 10 days to respond. So if the first winner doesn't respond, and really every person 1 through 10 needs to respond if you're already subscribed. That'll be cool. And then we'll just cross it down the list like 1, 2. Nope, 10 days is gone. The next 10 days, next 10 days. This person, oh, you're up now. Let's see if you respond in 10 days. Oops, they didn't respond. So everybody respond. And whoever 1 through 10 is going to win that 5,800. And then at 5,000, what should I give away? Tell me what I should give away. A 380 copy, 38 copy of Noker. I think that's probably fair at 5,000. Give away a Noker. Let me know. I'm done rambling for now. I want some discussion on this, some topics. I want to know from that guy that left me the comment, where am I going to find a U.S. made and U.S. built saw? I want to support the USA. Support the USA. America. Where am I going to get a USA made saw? I'm not talking about assembled. I'm not talking about assembled right here. That's some straight up, I don't care about that. Because I can get better saws now from here. Direct. Why do I say better? Because it's cost, this is the factor right here. 1/3. 1/3 the price. 1/2. 1/3 to 1/2 the price. Why am I going to spend $1,500 on something that I don't need to spend on? Because I'm not wanting to drive a Mercedes, because Mercedes suck now. You understand what I'm getting at? Let me know. Like, subscribe, share. Take care.